Hello and welcome everybody to Friday Lives. This is our weekly show and weekly chat with content creators from different backgrounds about everything live streaming. This is going to be a very special show, so welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We are going to talk about leveraging live streaming for athletes and fitness professionals. Before we go there, I just want to let you know that Restream Friday Lives are powered by Restream Studio. This is how we run our show. And if you are interested in running your own with custom overlays, video pre-rolls, guests, and highlighting of community comments, you can do it right here. Check out at restream.io/studio and start your own show whenever you are ready. Speaking of guests, my guest today is Shane Miller. He is a decorated cycling champion, cycling tech specialist, and a creator of the GP Llama YouTube channel, which has over 120,000 followers today. Hello, Shane, and welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm very well. I was going to say good morning, but I guess it's good afternoon or good evening where you are. We're completely upside down and in the future here in Australia. It's currently Saturday morning at 8 a.m.
I know, this is crazy because like the whole show is called Friday Lives, right? And for you, it's not even Friday because you are in the future, which is awesome. That's great to hear. That's why we have this kind of like not usual later evening time, kind of a happy hour time here on Friday. Great time to talk about sports and fitness. So I'm super excited. I did my little spiel and introduction for you. Would you mind introducing yourself to our audience in your own words?
Well, yeah, live streamer, I guess, is probably one of the more recent titles I'll give myself. I've been live streaming quite a bit. But before that, it's indoor cycling, outdoor cycling, technology, and everything in between. So I guess I run a sports fitness channel focused around cycling and cycling technology. Technology within cycling has just taken off. It's booming at the moment. Back in the day when I first started, we would ride our bikes. We would push the pedals, and that's all we'd do. We'd get home, and nobody knew we'd gone for a ride unless you'd seen us out on the road and given us a wave. Nowadays, we are all connected all the time. If I go for a ride, I have so much technology on my bike. I know how many cars are coming up behind me, at what speed. I have cameras on the bike. My wife can live track me and track my heart rate as I ride, live stream, and then on the web. And then as soon as I get home, I upload to a service called Strava or Garmin Connect, and all my friends and followers can see where I've ridden, how hard I've ridden. Was I slacking off? It's a social experience now that is all connected. So what I cover is all those technologies and my passions, which are cycling and IT, which have a massive crossover. And it seems with the popularity of this, it does quite well.
Awesome. I do use Strava for my running experiences, and I must say I have never thought that like my personal fitness goals and my personal training activities would be such a social thing for me, because I always thought of that as more of a personal and intimate experience. But let me tell you that those kudos in Strava coming from your friends, they do give you that kick. Yeah, that thing. And you're like, okay. The random person I don't talk to for about a year now, he said it was a good run. Okay, I got this. Like, I'm a happy person now. My weekend is made. So yeah, definitely fun stuff. Well, let's actually get started with the beginning of your story. How did you get cycling and cycling technology, I guess?
Yeah, look, I've always ridden a bike as far back as I can remember. I've lived in small country towns, and to get around, we would jump on our bike and ride to our friend's house. And then when I started at school age, we rode to school every day, and that never stopped all the way through my life, just riding to and from school in small country towns. And then, so I've always had a bike. I've always ridden bikes. And then later in life, when I had to choose a profession, it was IT and technology and connectivity. That was coming along in the late 90s. So studied IT at university here in the town, which I'm now living in again. And again, always rode bikes, but then moved to Melbourne for work, where all the bigger work is. Again, I rode to work every day. And then I passed somebody on the path one day, and then they raced up behind me and said, "Oh, yeah, you're moving quite fast. Maybe you want to come and race with us at the local cycling club." I thought, no, I'm not really a cyclist. But at about this time, Lance Armstrong was doing really well, and it was very popular to watch Lance on TV. And it was the 2003 Tour de France. And then I went and bought some Lycra, some tight pants, and got on a bike. I was just in normal clothes, just normally riding along. But then I took it up and I caught the bug. I lost 15 kilos because being a desk worker, I needed some kind of better sporting outlet than what I had. Started riding a lot, and then you just found that technology was creeping more and more, as I said in the intro there, into cycling, and there was so much crossover. And now it's just a perfect crossover of my two passions, IT, connectivity. Social media came along just at the right time to encourage people to go out there and do more, and encourage others to do more as well. And then things like YouTube came along, and then it's just this perfect crossover of all my passions that's just worked for me. So I've chosen this path, and I really enjoy what I do.
That's awesome. That's a great story. Sure. Yeah. That there's. You mentioned Lance Armstrong being in Austin, Texas, and I was not born and raised here, but I live here for about 10 years now. I can definitely tell that people got the bug. Like, there's so many places here that are just so cycling driven, and even with the unfortunate revelations regarding Armstrong,
there's that.
There was a big drop when that first happened, because a lot of people felt really betrayed, and they decided to take it on their bicycles and cycling activity, oh, screw that thing. But still, eventually, I would say Austin is one of the most cycling cities I personally have ever been, but I've been to Australia, so I'm sure that's light years better. With all the good stuff. It's still hard to believe that you guys are in winter now, when we're sweating here with 40 degrees Celsius.
Side note, if you saw my Instagram the other day, it was snowing in my backyard. It actually, big snowflakes here in Australia. We do have little small snow resorts at elevation, but in my backyard here in Ballarat at 430 meters elevation, we had snow. It happens about once a year. That is
similar to in Austin, except for we have it, during the actual winter, as we call it.
Actual winter.
Right, exactly. So one of your big accomplishments is making indoor training exciting. Well, you're a funny person, you're great to talk to, but is it really so hard to get people excited about indoor cycling?
Well, look, if you enjoy indoor cycling as much as I do, you'll love it. If you enjoy it just even a little bit as much as I do, you'll still love it. I was training indoors well before all what you see behind me came along. We have connected worlds. We have multiplayer competitions and games where you race people all over the world. You have smart trainers and smart technology. It's amazing what we've got here. It measures all of I've even got a core body temperature sensor and a heart rate monitor and all the sensors. It's just so much fun getting all this technology put together that you forget that you're just inside looking at the wall, spinning your legs. And that's where a lot of people come from when they look at indoor cycling or spinning. There are so many spin bikes that you see out on the sidewalk after about 2 weeks of people purchasing them. It's just boring. It doesn't do much. Looking at the wall or listening to music, that's where I came from. So anything that adds more entertainment or more enhancement to that experience, I love, absolutely love. And that's where this virtual cycling platform behind me came along. We can race our friends, and as soon as you go up a hill, you have to pedal harder because the smart trainers we're on now, have the technology to replicate hills. They also have the technology to replicate gradients. Your bike will physically go up and down as you're going up and down. And just the other day, we've now got steering, so we can steer around our friends, and it's just so much fun. If you can have just a little bit of insight on the fun that I have, I'm sure people love it too. I think that comes through in my videos, and that's what I present as well. What's new this week in indoor cycling? And it's a really emerging scene because of that technology take up. As I said, back in the day, we used to look at the wall, watch YouTube videos or music videos, and just stare at the clock. And after 5 minutes of going as hard as we could, we stop and we wait another 5 minutes. And then next 5 minutes, we go hard. Now we're chasing our friends. And now we're having a chat online. Now we're having social rides just as you would outside. And during these times, it's more than ever. It's becoming very, very popular.
Absolutely. We are going to actually cover the specifics of live streaming, like how live streaming is helping sportsmen and athletes and professional fitness trainers during this challenging time, specifically when everyone is kind of locked into this indoor type alternative of whatever sport they're doing. I guess one of the questions that I had for you that I was super excited about is talking about broadcasting a cycling experience, right? Like, so live streaming a talk show, like what I'm doing right now, is a daunting task. It takes quite a bit of preparation. It dominates the end of my week, like, so basically Thursday and Friday for sure. I'm thinking about that all the time. And it takes a little bit of a preparation, setup, even though I try to keep it very low key, but still, and kind of like more you engage in that, more difficult it is. So add to that equipment required for training and cycling, broadcasting that experience, interactive aspect of with other cyclists and your audience. How complicated and challenging is what you do?
That's a very good question, because it's interesting that I'm not just sitting at a desk talking and even doing this show. Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of preparation that goes into all of this. For the cycling side of things, you can see behind me, I'll keep moving to my side because that's where everything is sort of here in the what I call the llama lab. It requires a lot of equipment just for the cycling side. So you need a bike, a smart trainer, heart rate monitors. You can see beside me here fans. There's computers, floor mats, as well as the food that you need. You need to drink and eat whilst you ride if you're going for a few hours or so. And then on top of that, for live streams, you need the computer, cameras, audio, lighting, good internet. And that's where the crossover between my passion between the two really comes into its own, because you've got all the computers, which I love, the bikes, which I love, and then the live stream requires all of those put together for what I do. It's quite difficult to get set up, but it's so much fun when it is, because it just, again, takes away from that. If you look at what you're doing physically, if you were to close your eyes and have no sensory input at all, you're spinning your legs, and it kind of sucks. You're not doing anything. It's just hard work. But if you can use all those external sensories to take away from that, including being on live stream, talking to your friends, answering questions, hosting a show, it's heaps of fun. I absolutely love what I do. So once it's all in place, though, it's good to go.
That's awesome. So this kind of naturally progresses in my other question that kind of just came up earlier during the warm up. So when things go wrong, which is the nature of live streaming, right? Like we all know, when we're streaming live, it's not a pre-recorded video. You don't have the opportunity to press the undo button and be like, okay, never mind, let's take another take, or we'll just take care of it on post-production and edit this out. You're live, you don't have that option. And of course, with live streaming, there's so many pieces of that puzzle that are involved. You mentioned internet. There's also technology. There is also stuff that's going on with your equipment. There's your microphone, your lights, your camera. You know the drill. So when something doesn't work, and you are also paddling for an hour at this point, how does it look? How does a failed stream look for a cyclist?
For the viewers, I think they love it. Because what you get to see is, you see let's just say the Instagram social marketers, everything is just perfectly set. All the lighting is great. Everything is in focus. Everything is just set up before somebody hits publish. And it's the same with my static video collection about the resources that I do and the how-tos. They're all done quite well. Yeah, during a live stream, you don't have a second take, and you have to roll with it. And that's the thing. You've got to roll with whatever happens. Oh, my English is Aussie/Bogan, they call it, I guess. I stumble through my words and mispronounce things. I can chop those out of those other videos. Live stream, you've got to have this. You've got to be one step ahead in your mind. And then sometimes your legs can be 2 steps behind, especially on the bike. And this is all at an elevated heart rate. My average heart rate for my rides is around 150 to 160 beats. And I do say on my live streams, as a bit of a joke, if I'm above 160 beats per minute, which is on screen during my streams, you can see my heart rate. I said, if I'm above 160 and I give you an answer that doesn't make sense, ask me again when my heart rate's below 160. I might talk a bit of gibberish. So things can go wrong. Now, They can go wrong with technology, such as the internet. People get dropouts and, the resolution goes bad or the audio goes out. They're par for the course. But for all this indoor cycling tech, what happens if I might have had what's called a power meter drop out and I don't go anywhere? And I'm riding in a virtual bunch, and I'm accountable for those bunches because I've got to lead the ride or perform a certain task in the ride. But if I don't have a power meter, that drops out, the batteries go flat, or my smart trainer just drops out, I can't pedal and I drop off. And what do I do? It's like having a flat tire out in the road. And typically, people aren't happy with getting flat tires, but you can't really swear too much on a live stream. You've got to be quite polite. There is a mute button. So I use that quite a bit. If you've got to let out some energy, you press mute and then away you go. And people can see the frustration. Urgh. I had it happen once before in a large group ride just at the start, 300 or so riders. And these aren't computer-generated riders. They're individual humans in any place in the world riding, and we're all talking, all having fun. Okay, we're going to set out for a 40-kilometer ride. And then my trainer stops. And then all 300, or everyone else except me just rolls off. And I'm like, no, that can't happen. I'm frantically during the live stream trying to connect everything back up, pulled the power out, put the power back in. Again, restarting everything is the best way to fix things. And it did the job. But here I was, about 500 meters off the back of this bunch. And like in real life, there's the drafting effect in cycling. If you're riding in a bunch, it's much easier and you go much faster. No, I was off the back solo. I spent 10 minutes racing so hard, just using all that energy into catching the bunch. And I did my best, what they call the personal best 10-minute power at about 360 watts if anybody's a cyclist. So I hadn't done that for a long time. I put in this massive effort to chase the bunch. I wasn't talking too much. So the interaction with my viewers wasn't that great at all. They were all glued to see if I could get back on and see if I could use that energy to get back on. So when things fail, you can turn that into a positive. But as long as the stream still rolls and as long as you still compose, well, I wasn't much composed on the bike at 180 beats per minute and 360 watts for 10 minutes, but I got back and everyone watching was, yes, he got back. I'm like, we've turned a negative into a positive. So lots of different things can happen. That was probably one of the best ones where I had something fail on me. But other times you have to, disconnect and reconnect. And I think the viewers are quite accepting of that because it shows you're a real human and that real-time interactivity that you don't get with athletes or personalities or even just the general streamer. Some people are streamers. They're the most famous people you'll never know. They're not special in any way. I'm not really special in any way. I just do this a lot and I'm very noisy and loud. So I think people enjoy seeing the real human side of things when things go bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really interesting that for most of us who are streaming live show or even gameplay, you are looking at technology breaking as your worst nightmare, right? But it's very rare that it's like, I have to pedal faster. Or like I cannot keep up with my task, because for most of us, it's like the worst thing that can happen is like my lights will go off, my internet will go down. Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting that you have this like additional layer of, oh gosh, like this could go wrong too. So that's definitely a great opportunity to turn that into more interactive, more funny experience. If that goes wrong, that's a great advice. Personally for you, considering that you've been doing that for quite a while, what is the most challenging thing about cycling and streaming at the same time? What do you find really difficult that you're struggling with?
Well, I kind of alluded to it just before that. It's really no different to any other live stream, except that you're doing it at a really, really high heart rate. So we might get a bit of nerves when we go live because, again, it's an ongoing ramble of you can't stop. There's no backing out of a live stream. Whatever you say comes out. And you've got to be responsible for everything. So you're not just a presenter reading from an auto cue or a script. You've got to take care of the audio, the visuals, the scene switching, respond to questions and troubleshoot things on the fly. And again, it's all at that elevated heart rate. I've been up to, I think, 192 beats a minute. Now I'm nearly 42 years old. So that's pushing the maximum limits of what I can get to. So I've been streaming up to there. My typical live stream, just riding along, has been doing 140 and 160 beats a minute. So it's funny, try running on the spot really, really hard and you're out of breath, and then try and do a cognitive task of getting everything working with the live stream perfectly. It's a skill that takes time, but if you can get it right, it works really well.
Wow, yeah, that's unbelievable. I cannot imagine doing that. Like when I run for pleasure, not competitively, I don't recognize people that run past me, like people I know, and then I get text messages of like, have you seen me on the trail? Maybe because like I'm completely out of it. So managing a live stream for me is sounds crazy. How difficult is it to react to the comments? Because of course you probably respond with your voice. You don't really have the opportunity to type anything. But how difficult is it to read and actually, again, perform the cognitive task, as you call it, to respond something more or less comprehensive?
Look, for me, you've probably picked up on it. I can talk about this stuff all day long, and I absolutely love it. So for me, it's really, really easy. I live and breathe this technology and what comes new. And I wake up every day looking through the news. What product has been released, or somebody's done this and put this together and had a better experience. Oh, how can I use that? And can I share that out? So for me, no problems. I can talk all day about this, even at a high heart rate. But it's definitely a skill that you have to learn to do, and you can practice offline. So even a live stream, and I tell people, I've done a few how to do live stream videos. You can do absolutely everything the same as a live stream, but just not hit that broadcast button. So you can do a practice live stream and record it locally. And then you can watch that back and think, okay, I've practiced this. That looks good. I like the scene switching, but I wasn't live at that time. And next time I'll go live. So it's about practice. But you can see set up behind me here, I have one big screen. That's the main 4K TV that I'm sitting really close to, and it's my 3D immersive world that I'm in. So that's my escapism when I'm writing. And then right next to that, on the other screen with that has the computer playing at the moment, the game, that's my chat screen. So I've set up the room physically for the best environment to interact with people. I can ride, I can chase people in game, and I can follow the wheels and race my bike. But just over to the side is where the questions come through. If they were hidden behind on the one machine, it would be hard to sort of switch between the two, but you can set things up for the streaming environment, to make it just absolutely seamless. And even the angles that you're at too, if you have the questions on the right side, when you set your stream up, it looks like you're talking to the screen or talking to the chat rather than sort of looking off to the side. If I was talking to you like this and you're on the other side of the screen, whereas if I'm talking to you like this, it looks a little better. So just those little subtle things. As long as everything is set up right, and again, as I said, you can practice this before even going live. So if anybody out there is looking at, tinkering with streaming, I'm not sure if it's for me or not. You can set all this up, have a bit of a play. If it's not for you, that's cool. If it is, you're all ready to go.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that during your first experiments with streaming, even if you are pretty established and you have some kind of community and network on social media, you probably won't get a ton of people in your chat because the consistency is going to bring those. And for the first time, you shouldn't be scared that a lot of people will see you, a lot of people will send some terrible comments or anything like that. Most of the time when people are scared of those things, the reality is that you do have the opportunity to actually try it live without doing much damage and without interacting with too many people. So that's kind of like a common misconception that I hear. Oh my gosh, like I'm going to go live and I have 4,000 followers. So 4,000 people will see me. No, they won't. Maybe 4 people will see you unless you really work hard to promote that and include everyone into that conversation. So yeah, that's very interesting. Let's talk about coronavirus a little bit. Like no one likes that topic, but it's kind of everywhere. But I think it's very interesting to kind of try to understand how the pandemic affected your life as a cyclist and what opportunities opened up for you as an indoor fitness trainer, since you are also teaching people how to bike.
I can pinpoint the exact date where this just went crazy. So March 18th, 2020. And I think that was when the world just sort of went, whoa, hang on, we're going into lockdown in this country, this country, this country. And there were shutdowns, there were border closures, it was crazy back then. We're still going through that now here in Melbourne and also country Victoria. So it was March 18th. Now I've been uploading videos for 3.5 years at that time. I had over 1,000 videos of how-to, good resource library. If you want to learn about indoor cycling, it's all up on my channel, sitting there waiting for people to view. It's evergreen content. That day went crazy, through the roof. Indoor cycling became very, very popular and people were scrambling to, how do I set this up? What do I do here? So indoor cycling is one of those things, and cycling outdoors as well, at a recreational level, has done very, very well during this time because it's an experience that you can go out there by yourself and do. The restrictions still allowed people to cycle, although in Melbourne now you're only allowed to go within 5 kilometres of your home for 1 hour per day. But there was still, most of the world is still, you can go out there and ride by yourself. It's a solo experience. So bike stores are sold out worldwide. The indoor trainers, which the bikes hook up to indoors here, they're sold out worldwide. It's really hard to get a hold of them. So on the upside, not that there's much of an upside for COVID, but on the upside, this industry has done very, very well. But I won't celebrate the industry doing well. I'll celebrate the fact that people have got something to go to and be physical and have that outlet that was, I guess, taken away from them with group sports shutting down and I guess professional cycling and even cycling competition shutting down. So I'm just really happy that the content that I've been putting out there for years and years and years has become, I guess, more valuable in the last few months for people to jump on and find out how to set everything up.
Awesome, great stuff. And what about how did the pandemic change just kind of the overall competitions for cyclists? How do competitions look today during the pandemic? Is it all virtual? Is it all like temporary postponed or postponed indefinitely? Like, how does the championship look today?
Yeah, look, all of the above. As I mentioned before, grassroots cycling, the mums and dads and kids on the bikes, and the club level riders, who are the local competitions you see out on your local roads, they're slowly coming back, and that is booming at the grassroots level. So, if cycling is a pyramid, at the base level where it all begins for us all, even the professional cyclists all start riding their bike as a kid and ride with their mums and dads and parents, and then they work their way up. The triangle or the pyramid of cycling at the moment, at the top, it had disappeared. There was no professional cycling. There was no top tier. That was pretty much shut down for months and months and months. That's only now just returning slowly, but it looks very, very different. The Critérium du Dauphiné, which is a lead up to the Tour de France, is currently running now. The Tour de France was postponed. Hopefully it starts at the August 29th. I think it comes back in. But again, everyone's in face masks at the start. At the end, there's just the crowds are different. The competition's still good because you've got athlete bubbles now and you've got social distancing. But it's a different world. It really is. So at the top of the sport, it's changed a lot. And at the bottom of the sport, it's changed a lot for the good at the bottom of the sport because people are buying bikes and riding out there. And hopefully, if they enjoy what they do, they get into this indoor stuff as well to help them compete outdoors. Or if you can't ride, it's dark or it's raining or it's the middle of winter, you can get indoors and ride too. Hopefully that takes off. It's a really strange one. It's one of those. It's at the top, as I said, it's completely disappeared for a while, and at the bottom, it grew like nothing else. No one would have ever predicted that. At the moment, you can't predict anything. It's crazy times. But what I do love is that the fact that you can get on a bike, go out there by yourself, and you don't have any worries in the world. You've got the wind in your hair. Well, I don't have the wind in my hair, yeah, so to speak. You push the pedals, it's yourself and the bike, and there's nothing like riding down a hill on a bike, is there? Like, there's that free energy you've just got that. That still exists, so we have to celebrate that. But cycling is very different now.
Yeah, I can totally see that. What is your prediction? I know you said that no one knows the future. Of course, everything is very confusing these days. But what do you think about the future of cycling in the post-pandemic era? How do you see that evolving?
That's an interesting question. Cycling is such a traditional sport. We have so many little nuances that we do. Even in regard to sock height. Other cyclists judge other cyclists based on the height of their socks, can you believe? We know you're a triathlete if you have low socks or no socks. We know you're a true roadie, what we call a true roadie, if you have high socks. Black socks, you're probably a mountain biker because you get dirty. All these there's traditions that have gone on for years and years and years. And the bicycle itself, the 3-triangle frame of a bicycle hasn't changed in probably over 100 years. It's very, very traditional. So COVID has thrown everyone a curveball. So we just don't know how things are going to turn out. I'd assume, like a lot of others, it was only going to be for a few months and then things are back to normal. I think we're striving to go back to the normal with cycling races running again and we're riding outside, but we still don't know what normal is. Now, will sports become more virtual? Will people turn to indoor cycling as they're cycling, or will, let's just say, any other sport, indoor running, indoor rowing, will that replace real sport? I don't think so. I think virtual cycling and virtual sport are an endeavor themselves. They stand alone. So they'll become popular, but they're not a substitute for the real sport. There's no risk involved. And some of the times we watch the sport for the risk. We watch the car racing because if a car racer pulls a move and just does the right move at the right time, fantastic to watch. If they don't and they crash, well, we watch the consequence. MotoGP, if you watch MotoGP, fantastic racing. Again, another two-wheeled sport.
Right.
You'd never watch MotoGP virtually and believe it's the same as MotoGP in the real world. Those superstars behind what they do, it's brilliant. And that's about the risk and the reward and everything outdoors. I think cycling and virtual sport, sorry, I always go back to cycling because that's what I live and breathe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sport in general, this technology allows for people to do it more often and indoors and in different ways, but it will never be a substitute for the real thing. But again, if it gets people active and gets people with that elevated heart rate, which is good for your fitness, I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's have a look at your setup. Let us know. I know it's kind of like behind you a little bit, but please share what do you use? How does your cycling and streaming setup look? What are the key elements, hardware and software that you have to get your show going and to basically get on the wheels and
Sure,
ride?
I'll lean to the side here though. I haven't got it set up perfectly here, but there's just a normal bicycle there. You can see the handlebars, the curl bars. There's two bicycles here. One's mine. Actually, they're both mine, but my wife also rides, so I need more than one set up here. These are just normal bikes, and then we remove the rear wheel and we replace them with what's called a smart trainer. Now, I could probably lift one up and show you, but this room is just full of everything else at the moment, as is usually the case with a live streamer's studio room. And these things just replace the rear wheel, and they're digitally connected via what we call Bluetooth or ANT+ to the computer. And then you see on the screen here, the little cyclist riding side by side. If the hill goes up, or the screen virtual hill goes up, that device that is now my rear wheel and my rear stay on my bike here, it gets harder. It clamps on the resistance. And then if it goes down a hill, it's like riding down a hill outside. You don't have to pedal. It's free wheels. So it's this progressive resistance, so it's an interactive resistance machine that we put on the bikes. That's the key, and that's really what's changed indoor cycling in the last 4, 5, or 6 years. These devices have become a little cheaper, relatively speaking, and there's lots to choose from. So there's a big market there, and that's part of what my channel is all about. You know, which trainer is out, which trainer is new, which company is making what, and then you've got obviously the bike. You've got this computer screen. And all the sensors, you name it, it measures. My bike here measures how hard I'm pushing on the pedals. So if I'm slacking off on just my left leg or my right leg, I'll know straight away. It'll say, hey, your left leg's imbalanced or your right leg's imbalanced. My heart rate, obviously. I've got a core body temperature sensor now. So if things are getting too hot or I'm feeling uncomfortable or my performance drops and I just don't know why, I've got all these metrics in front of me. And then obviously I've got a table in front of me here. But again, you can't see that, but I've got a keyboard, a mouse. I have a mobile phone that I also bring into the stream. Again, that's using OBS. I stream with OBS on a Windows 10 machine. It's just a lot easier to use. All my work and professional video editing is done on a Mac, but the live stream stuff is just so much easier on Windows, and it just works. Plus Windows, it's a gaming machine with an NVIDIA card. I also use something called RTX Voice for my USB microphone, which takes out all the noise in the background, because in here, the trainers aren't too noisy, but if you're crashing through gears, if I'm breathing really heavily, I need big fan, I need air moving around to cool me down. And that's, loud and background noise is an enemy of the live streamer. You want good audio, you want crisp, clear discussions and answers and things. How do you do that though when there's fans going and there's noise and there's everything? RTX Voice, which is the filter that you can put over a microphone, uses AI to remove all the background noise, and it's just me talking. That's all you'll hear. Absolutely fascinating technology. Complete game changer for indoors. So you can just play soft background music, again, as part of the stream, just to keep things ticking along, rather than me just breathing or talking. And then that's all you hear is just the music, the game, and me talking. So what else with the setup? Obviously, we have flooring, we have lighting, I've got the background lighting here behind this screen here. That I can make that change based on what's on the screen. So if it goes dark, if it's nighttime on my virtual screen, the lights will go down. If I go through, we can ride through virtual worlds and virtual volcanoes, it'll glow red. I just keep adding to this almost daily. And in all of that, we need food and drinks next to us and a towel because we sweat a lot. It's quite busy in here. But technology-wise, I've covered it all on the channel, what I do and how it's all set up. So if anybody's interested in even just how to start streaming, just the basics of streaming, I've got that covered. The audio filter that I've just talked about, which is absolutely brilliant. I have a video on that. And also how to bring in a mobile phone, which can be more dynamic for your live stream. So I'm riding here, but the software that I use has what's called a companion app. So I can see all my friends and we can chat on the phone at the same time. A bit like Instagram, I guess, or Snapchat or something. I can load that into the live stream too. So if people message me, or we can have the chat on screen as well as everything going on. It's quite busy. One thing it won't filter out is my young son, Maxwell, though. You might hear in the background now.
That's the beauty of live streaming, right? Like you just have to deal with the reality that just like walks into your studio and into your stream. You just have to react. You can't edit it out. There's nothing you can do. That's beautiful. So your channel has a great combination of live training sessions and like those specific cycling sessions that you were sharing about, that you do with others, and you have the community reacting to that. And you also have some product, like cycling product reviews, when you talk specifically about the gear, its hardware, its software, it's everything in between. What do you feel like you get more engagement about, like, and questions and reactions from the community? Is it your cycling sessions, or is it the reviews about the gear and the technology?
Look, a lot of my product reviews, they're how-to videos. They're pretty straight down the line, very technical, I add a bit of humor every now and then, a bit of personality to that. They're an evergreen resource that people can refer to for years and years. And it's almost a library of content there. Now, like an everyday library in the real world, it's not much of a party. There's people coming and going, but everyone's nice and polite. But a live stream, that's a disco. Absolutely. That's people are chatting, people are coming in, talking the whole stream long, asking questions. Some people who even join in who have got no idea what they're watching, and they're wondering, why do the algorithms suggest this? But hey, this is cool. And they'll ask a few questions. Live streams by far for the real-time engagement are just something else. I can live stream I've got to apologize for how long my live streams go, because I tell people, look, I'll be live streaming for an hour. 2 hours later, I'm still there. Or this course is only 40 kilometers long, and then I'll get to 41.6. I mean, I've got to go to 45 kilometers, and the chat will be still going on, and people will still be asking questions, and I'll be pulling up Instagram photos of snow in my backyard that people want to see, or my last ride outdoors. And hang on, I'm at 55 kilometers now. So the engagement, live streams are where it's at. If I could live stream all day long, I had the energy to, I would. But unfortunately, and one of the unique things about live streaming sport, especially when you're doing it yourself, you can't live stream for that long, because you've actually got to do the work and that elevated heart rate. But for engagement, it's live streams all day long.
Awesome. Yeah, and we are going to take questions from our community. I see that there are some questions popping up in the chat. This is great. Thank you very much for asking. We are definitely going to answer everything cycling related, live streaming related today. I am just going to ask you a couple of more general fitness and athletic questions, just because there are several fitness trainers that are watching us that might be like, well, I'm not a cyclist, but I'm a fitness trainer. So is there something for me in this whole virtual live streaming thing? So I was curious to ask you, with coronavirus, since this is kind of like the theme today, partially, many fitness trainers had to reconsider and rethink how they do their work, because fitness centers closed, the gyms closed, the limitations and safety precautions are very impactful for that industry. And some trainers, of course, found themselves in virtual space. Since you've been on this path long before coronavirus, you've been virtual, you've been interactive, and you've been kind of like streaming your stuff. What is your advice for those who are just now starting their virtual journey as fitness professionals and athletes?
First of all, I'll answer from a technical point, first of all, because I'm a techie in the background. Good audio. Good audio is a must. You have to have good audio. People can put up with bad visuals or bad lighting. If I turn this lighting on or off, we can deal with that. But it's just, you should see the setup here. It's fantastic. You can use anything that's cheap, just works for lighting. But good audio is a must. You have to have good audio. But then next to that, it's more of a general content advice, is just find somebody who's already doing what you're looking at doing, and watch and learn. And most of the time you can interact with them on their live streams. Ask them questions. Find someone who's doing what you want to do or what you hope to achieve, and then put your own little twist on it. There's many people cycling indoors. There's people running indoors using the same platform. I've watched what they do. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's what you do, right? That's how you've done that. Let me see what I can do and put my own spin on it. And as I said before, I did a number of test live streams first, where I set everything up. I hit record rather than stream on OBS, and I looked back and went, okay, I need to do this better and this better, and learn how to do the process of the introduction. Present to here's what I'm going to do today, and hopefully at the end of your video or end of the stream, people are like, that was either entertaining, or I've learned something, or that was a good use of my time to watch, what I've just watched. So I think the best thing we can do is go out there, and I guess if you could replicate others and see what you want to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. And it's so it is so true for pretty much any industry, right? Like just look at the people that you want to be like, and look at the people who found things that work, that are successful, and definitely don't try to replicate it completely, but learn what's good and then make it your own, right? Twist it a little bit, tweak it where you can, and voila, here's your personal style of streaming or training or teaching. Do you believe that there are any unstreamable sports or athletic activities? Anything that you just cannot put into virtual and live streaming world at all from the fitness and sports perspective?
I saw this question come through the other day, and I'm thinking, that's a great question. Of course, there's going to be heaps of things you can't live stream. And then as I tried to come up with examples, I could not think of one, because if you can do it, you
I have
can
one for you. I have one for you.
Okay, excellent. Okay, I can't wait to hear it, because I could not come up with one. Because for me, my thoughts on this are, if you can do something, do an activity, you can film it. And if you can film it, you can live stream it. And coming back to sports, live sports broadcasting is pretty much why professional sports exists. But I think it comes down to resources. If you're a one-person show, as I am here, it can be hard to live stream everything at once. So I was thinking, okay, maybe it'd be hard to live stream a swimming lesson, because water and technology usually don't mix. I'm sure someone's already done live stream swimming though. So if you can solve that problem though, of how would I live stream this, and you live stream something where you'd think that it'd never be streamable, you've got your unique angle on something, and that's one good way to grow an audience too. So I'm keen to hear if you've found something that you can't be streamed or would be difficult.
Yeah, this is so funny, because I was just thinking about that, and actually it came in the chat from Charles on YouTube. The answer is skydiving, because I was actually a former professional skydiver. I had over 400 jumps, and but now what you said. What you said did make me change my mind, because I'm like, okay, well, but if you can film it, and you can with skydiving, you can film an individual performance. You can even film big formations, which is typically done with multiple cameras that are also attached to other people jumping from the plane, which in my opinion is not going to be very easy to stream live, like just directly, because there's not much internet up there where the planes fly and where the people leave the planes. But at the same time, when you think about that from the perspective, is it doable? I guess it's just very resource intense. You will have to somehow provide internet there. But I think it's going to be really interesting to watch, just like those pre-recorded videos of people base jumping or just jumping from the planes and doing any kind of skydive thing. They look amazing. They're very engaging. They're so like full of adrenaline and thrill. Like, some people, for base jumpers, for example, when you watch those videos, people feel scared and uncomfortable just watching those YouTube recordings. And of course, if that was live streamed, that would be absolutely amazingly engaging. But I just thought, from the perspective of the person who did that semi-professionally for more than 5 years, I was like, gosh, this would be a massive challenge to make that happen and to make it work. But that's the only one I could come up with. And I agree, like some kind of like crazy scuba diving in the cave might be also difficult from the perspective of transmission. But you're right. As long as you can record it, which is pretty much anything, you could push it live maybe later, maybe somehow using a lot of resources and technology. But yeah, I guess there are no unstreamable sports. Like you
a lot of people will do pre-records and talk over what they've done. So they almost present a live stream of something that's been pre-recorded. So they can sort of sit back and commentate on their own previous activities or endeavors. That's almost a way of live streaming sport, but it's a little bit different. But coming back to skydiving, and I said you've got to have good audio. Good audio with skydiving is going to be very, very hard. Getting that filter, or the dead cat people use, that little fluffy thing they have there. You did a big one for skydiving, wouldn't you? The wind buffeting would be just too much.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of the wind in your hair, that's where you get a ton. Lots of wind in your hair. Let's get to our chatters. We got some questions here. Thanks everybody for participating, by the way. This is awesome. I'm going to highlight some comments, and we're going to just kind of like collaborate on them, and we will get back to my questions later. There are a couple more questions that I wanted to ask, personal monetization and sponsorship related. But before we get there, let me reintroduce you for those who's just joining us. My guest today is Shane Miller. He's a decorated cycling champion, cycling tech specialist, and creator of the GP Llama YouTube channel, which has over 120,000 followers, by the way. And the first question is actually about that. The question is from YouTube. Sonishnik is asking, what is up with llamas? What inspired you to name, what inspired the name of your YouTube channel? Great question. I'm so keen to know.
I get this so often, because it's just bizarre. What does GP Llama? What's the relevance to cycling? It's not like indoor cycling today or something like that. No, GP Llama is a username that I came up with probably 1992, 1993. It was in high school or junior school. And somebody was rocking out with headphones, like the old school headphones, a little bit of wire, a little tiny. He's rocking out to some hardcore heavy metal music. He was the heavy metal kid who was into heavy metal, and I thought he was yelling at God's Pet Llama, blah blah blah, singing some sort of lyric, God's Pet Llama. And I said, "Hey Tyson, what song are you listening to? Does that have a higher meaning of Dalai Lama or a pet llama? What are you talking? I was interested in what song he was listening to, and he said, "What are you talking about?" It was blah blah, and he said some other words in Thai. It was a misheard song lyric. I just thought, what? That was just so weird. Was that a and at this time we needed a unique username to log into one of the systems at school. So we're just getting computers back then, and Shane M or S Miller. I'm like, that's not going to be very unique in a few years. So GP Llama, and just with one L. Yeah. Just to be lazy, and it stuck. So, and then social media came along, and for Twitter, okay, well, GP Llama. Okay, for Facebook, well, GP Llama. Okay, for everything else, well, GP Llama, and it just stuck. The llamas thing with the animal, the llama, closely related to alpacas and also camels. Now, the funny thing is, alpacas are used now as sheep herd protectors. So, people here in Australia and around the world, they'll put one alpaca in a flock of sheep, and that one alpaca will protect all the sheep. So they're a popular animal. Where people cross over or mistake llamas for
cute
alpacas
too
all the time. So it's just you can buy llama everything at the moment. It's just this children's theme that you can buy llama pajamas. And my little son, who's just turned 1, he's got llama everything. He's got no choice. There's llamas everywhere. So it just stuck. It's branding that I couldn't have ever come up with. I could have gone to a branding agency and said, "Can you come up to me? Can you get me an angle of a name that is unique and it will stand out, and that people will be reminded of my brand when they're riding out in the sheep paddocks." It's just bizarre. You'd never come up with something like that. But that's why it works. It's just so bizarre and out there, and if someone says, "Oh, llama" or GP Llama or llama cycling or something like that, it's my branding. It stuck. Yep. Would I have chosen it in the past? If I could go back, I think Miller is a strong name. Miller Cycling or Miller Technology or something like that would be quite strong. It's good for a beer, isn't it? Is Miller beer?
Exactly, for beer lovers, that's great. But no, I think llama is great. I remember at some point I need to look you up, and it was so recognized. It was so memorable. It was like, oh yeah, that's the llama guy. And I didn't get the GP though, but the llama was there for sure. It was like, yeah, that's the one. And I could see the little logo was the animal, and I was like, okay, that's the guy. And that's
I get people who are traveling to Machu Picchu, and they'll send me. They'll be at Machu Picchu sending me pictures of llamas, going, "Hey llama, look, I'm here." I'm like, "Enjoy your holiday. Thanks for the just enjoy your holiday." This is it's hilarious. A good little memory jog for people. Yeah, it's awesome.
That is awesome. Charles here from YouTube is, I guess not asking, but just commenting. Live online riding is great because roadies are crazy. They spend $2,000 to save 2 ounces of bike weight. No longer needed. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I agree. Cycling it's one of the most accessible sports because you can purchase a bike for people give away bikes. There's charities that give
for free.
Yeah, and you can have almost the same experience as I do on do I diverge the $10,000 bikes here just for the road? Yeah, we spend a lot of money on our things here. So it's one of these really weird sports where you can spend next to nothing or you can spend almost everything you own. However, it's not yachting and it's not motorsport. So there's a bit of a leveler there. I knew some people in motorsport who would spend as much as my bike on a set of tires for a race weekend or multiple sets of tires for a race weekend and then discard them. So cycling, it's relatively expensive. But it's one of these things where if you're really into something, it's just like any hobby or passion that people have. Sometimes people will upgrade their computer. They'll put in more memory. Oh, that'd be fantastic. And they'll love it for a day or two. It'll be nice and fast. And it's the same with bikes or tinkering with cars, anything. People use paint little model Warhammer figurines. They're right into it. And we'll spend money on that. Cycling's no different. And yeah, we spend more money to purchase less. if that makes sense, in regards to weight.
Yeah, that is kind of unique, right? Like pretty interesting combination. Lawson here from YouTube. Any tips for hill climbing? I moved from a flatlands to hill country and I'm dying. I can hear that from runners' perspective. Hills get you.
Yeah,
What's your recommendation?
I think there's a famous quote of ride more. That's all. Just ride more. If you want to get good at hills, ride more hills. If you're you move from the flatlands to the hill country, it's just a transitional period. What's interesting, and I cover this a lot on my cycling channel, in specifically to how you train and specific training for certain events. If you ride at, let's just say, I'll go to technical terms, 200 watts at a certain heart rate on the flatland, it's a different kind of cycling than 200 watts, same heart rate, up a hill, because your pedal stroke actually changes, because your bike wants to get pushed backwards up a hill. So on the flatlands, it wants to ride forward and you're just pushing against the wind and a bit of road resistance and things. Whereas up a hill, it's a whole different game. It's just retraining. It's the muscle groups very similar, just a little bit different in regards to position. But it's just ride more and find a hill that you love. But more importantly, find a hill that's awesome to ride down, because that's motivation to get to the top. Turn around, enjoy the ride down.
Oh my God, that's awesome. I love that. That's an interesting transition, right? Like, hey, think about what's going to happen and what's going to be enjoyable. But yeah, do more. Mm-hmm. Great advice. What are some of your favorite cycling creators to watch of ours? Do you watch other creators? You mentioned that you do, right? To kind of like get better, or is that the thing in the past?
Yeah, for sure. No, I always scan around. I review products and give my take on things. So it's always good for me to watch other reviewers and see what their experience is. I guess one of my best friends, DC Rainmaker, is a very similar channel. Ray does more triathlon and swimming and sort of branches out into a little bit further beyond just the cycling field. But we do a lot of the same stuff in this field. And while we collaborate behind the scenes a lot and send, oh, have you seen this? Are you seeing this? Yeah, I'm seeing this too. And it's always good to watch others though, and make sure that my experience that I'm having isn't unique. It's the same as everybody else's. So if I'm talking about, this product does this and this, and I'll watch Ray's review that comes out usually at the same time, and Ray says the same thing. I'm like, okay, cool, we're good. It's not about duplicating content. It's about validating my own content. So watching what others are doing. Cycling and cycling creators, there's all different types. There's out of the UK is an absolute goldmine of people on YouTube on bikes. I don't know what it is about the UK. It's not that great for cycling, is it? It's always raining. But just kidding, UK. We love you guys. but there's tons of YouTubers out of the UK doing either just daily, here's my life as a cyclist. Here's my life as a competitive cyclist. Here's my life as a YouTuber. Tons of different stuff there. So the more entertaining stuff, I really don't have time to catch up on. I'm way too busy trying to create my own content. But the resource things, the technology things, I'm always all across those. But during the off hours, it's not just cycling either. I mean, we all got addicted to Tiger King. Did everyone watch Tiger King back when it came out?
I did. I did. Oh my God. Yeah. I was, when I started watching that, I was under impression that this is not going to go well and I'm just not going to quit and give up. And after episode 2, I was like, oh my God, I'm so hooked. I don't know how they did that. How a show about the weird guy in Oklahoma who has wild cats could be so engaging. Somehow it was, right? Like it's all about the execution. It's not about the idea. They did the right thing. They got that engagement figured out. Yeah,
exactly. And that's what it's about. So even in live stream production, you can learn from things like that. What emotion did they convey? What emotion did I feel watching that, and why? And you can sit back and go, well, how can I use that myself? How, what wording can I use? What themes can I run with? Obviously, I'm not caging tigers here, but you look at their response and then how it's a good lesson to watch what works and see what you can adapt, as we said before, and twist it in your own way and adapt it to what you do, be it cycling, running, anything that you do online, even live stream gaming. How can you interact better to get that viewership and provide value to viewers? And Tiger King somehow did it. I still don't know how.
Yeah. Listen, what an interesting twist from streaming fitness to Tiger King, but somehow we did that too.
I had to throw that in there.
Charles right there is asking, interview a squirrel suit diver live. So Charles, actually that is called wingsuit. I know exactly what you're talking about. The squirrels. The ones that have like those big things, and usually those are the ones that are used for jumping from the rocks or base jumping. Mm-hmm. so-called, because that allows you to fall slower because you get a ton more space and surface that you then can kind of like slow you down with the stream of air. And a lot of people actually jump with those from airplanes. You can actually prolong your free fall using that.
Yeah.
But also, of course, the most popular application is jumping from rocks, from like big mountains, because that is when you have amazing level of maneuver and also the longer free fall period. But that would be it's a cool idea to interview a wingsuit person, period. Not even while he's falling. The only caveat there is that on average, they don't fall for longer than 2 minutes. So it's going to be a very short stream, no matter how they do it. But I love that idea. I think a streaming skydiver is going to be my next goal. Good luck in finding that. If you know of any live streaming skydiver, please connect me. I would love to talk to that person and learn everything about how they do things. Lawson here, coming back to the question of unstreamable sports, scuba diving would be nearly impossible. Solar won't penetrate water, I think. So that is definitely that's definitely a winner then. Not my skydiving, but the scuba diving in caves or something like that. All right, so let's get back to a couple of my questions that I have left. If you are just joining me, my guest today is Shane Miller. He is a decorated cycling champion, cycling tech specialist, and creator of GP Llama YouTube channel, where you can learn a lot about indoor cycling, training, and the technology for cyclists. So speaking of the technology and your virtual channel, where you also do tutorial videos and kind of review different technologies, new things that come out, do you monetize your channel with sponsorships from cycling tech manufacturers, or is it completely independent editorial opinions?
I kind of do it indirectly in the way that I ask companies to send me products under embargo. So then I'll have, I've got a lot of established relationships in the industry, and companies will put their trust in me to send out pre-release product. So I'll become the product expert. I'll ride or test or race or break sometimes the product before it's ready to be released. And in turn for that, I'm able to produce content for the public as soon as things are released. So as soon as something is released, so for example, the other day, there's two companies here. There's one right beside me there in the red. There's another one in the blue. On the other side, they released 2 new trainers 1 week apart. And I have had those trainers for probably a week or 2 prior. And I beat the media effectively. Well, I guess I kind of am the media. But as soon as that embargo lifted, which is a certain date, a certain time, in a certain time zone, the information's out there. The press releases go out. And I don't just have a press release to produce or to publish. I have a full review, a hands-on, here's my last 2 weeks of rides, here's my take on things. And those videos do really, really well on my monetized platforms. So that's how I monetize things. And that goes really well. So it's just about getting the engagement and being unique in that respect. There's a few others who do the same kind of thing, but we all have a unique angle and have our unique audiences. A lot of crossover as well. Some people, again, even I review other reviewers, and people do the same. They want to say, well, I said this, and Shane said this, and Des from DesFit says this. And okay, they're all on the same page here. Yeah, cool. Okay, that's exactly how it is. So that's how I monetize my channel. And YouTube's doing okay, though YouTube is a bit of a roller coaster because it all depends on the season. Leading into Christmas is always good because advertisers go to YouTube and say, look, I've got X amount of money to spend. And it's all very transparent. So I don't say what advertisers are able to go on my channel. I can block certain advertisers. It's a bit strange, but that's what I love. It's all just sort of, I put my videos up and YouTube, the algorithm takes care of it all.
Awesome.
And again, it depends on how. So I've got to wait for companies to make interesting products. I mean, I can tell an interesting story every now and then, I think.
Yeah.
But if a company makes an interesting product, one the other week was Grand Theft Auto, the game, obviously Grand Theft Auto 5. We all know the computer game.
Yeah.
Some genius came up with a way for us to ride our bikes, these indoor bikes, with the up and down gradient simulation within Grand Theft Auto. So not only was I riding around training, I was riding around training, shooting the bad guys. And and then the funniest part, again, when things go bad in a stream, this was a perfect example. I'm riding along, and then I was swerving between cars, being like an idiot cyclist on the stream, just as a bit of fun. And a car just totally takes me out. And I'm like, my response was, well, I kind of guess I deserved that. And everyone just lost. It was hilarious. It's just all live stream, virtual, obviously, but little things like that come along and really boost the channel. That video, that live stream. Now, live streams are really weird in regards to how the algorithm promotes them. When they're on, they're promoted. When they're off, not so much. This one got 108,000 views and climbing for Grand Theft Auto. So it's a unique angle. Those unique things happen, such as a car totally taking me out as a cyclist. And my reaction, again, it's all virtual, it's all the game. I had to remind people that I'm shooting people here, but it's a computer game, because usually I don't go around shooting people online.
Yeah, that would be weird if someone is used to just doing product reviews with you or joining your real cycle, and then all of a sudden you're just killing people and someone is just hitting you and you're dead. People
I
will be
only
like,
killed those who deserved it. They were bad people. Yeah, that's what I had to keep reminding myself.
That's such a cool take on that. Like, let's do some gamification, right, of what we do. What is your advice for fitness professionals and people who are trying to make it virtually right now, looking for sponsorships? Like whether you're a yoga instructor or a cyclist or a boxer, fitness trainer, you're trying to teach other people how to do that virtually because coronavirus. What would be your advice for them, how to approach the sponsorship, how to approach monetization, especially now during the times when those people probably really need of that?
Yeah, I'll answer that one from more of a how do I grow a channel, because sponsorships itself, it's not something that I go and seek in particular. I need product. I just need cool things, and that works for me. So I haven't approached companies to sponsor what I do and brand anything. But in regard, this is almost the same answer for both. So in regards to, it's all about providing value. So whatever you publish, whatever you share, whatever you live stream has to provide some kind of value for viewers, and that can be in any form, like many forms. So you can be informational or educational, and I hope that my product reviews and my how-to videos, not only for the new products, but also for existing products that have been updated. So for example, an update comes out for your iPhone or your Android phone. That just usually rolls out and people don't know what to do with it. So, okay, it does this differently now. Whereas I'll do a video on, oh, by the way, here's how to use this, and here's how to get a better experience from your current product. So I'm hoping at the end of those videos, people watch that and go, I've learned something. I'm in a better place now to understand what I have or have a better experience without spending any money. That's sort of the informational or educational side of things. For the live streams, if you can just be entertaining, that's good enough for some people. If some people can interact and have a laugh, like what we're doing here, I can talk about this all day long. Hopefully people watching are like, you know what, that was quite a unique take on things. And at the end of the day, they'll be like, yep, that was worth my time. If you can provide that, that's providing value for viewers. Your audience will grow. And then if you're looking for sponsorships, that's exactly what you show the companies, that you say, look, I've got this engagement, or I'm in this little tiny niche space over here. And for example, my channel, 126,000 subs or 27,000 subs now, it's still a very niche space. But those are really engaged people who are watching, who are right into cycling, and indoor cycling technology. That really whittles down to a really condensed market of people who will obviously spend a lot of money on bikes that don't weigh very much. So if you can provide that value in whatever space you're in, if you're in running and you want to review running shoes or you name it, anything, a scuba dive. If you're a scuba diver who live streams your scuba diver, or a wingsuit jumper, you can review wingsuits on the fly, literally on the fly. You've got a unique value prop, and companies will love that. So if you can provide value and you're genuine, Yep. That's amazing.
That's amazing. What is your recommendation on growing your channel, though? How do you get from 0 to 120K? I know it's not happening overnight. I know it's not happening because of one magic trick, but what are your key insights on how to get there?
Consistency. That's it. It's a long path. Unless you go, like some people, like the lottery. You can buy a lottery ticket and get a lot of money really quickly and you kind of made it. If not, you go to school, you go to university, or you find a trade that you do well in, you keep training, you keep at it, you keep rocking up every single day to work, and then you'll make it just as much as that person who won the $1 million. You'll get that $1 million just a different way. The same with YouTube and growing an audience. My original goal was to have, a certain level every single day. And when I started off in June 2016, I started regular uploads. Not a chance I hit that mark. It just wasn't there. 4 years later, I'm beyond where I thought I was going to be. So it just takes a lot of time. I had one out of over 1,200 videos, I think I have. One went viral, just one. And if you try and go viral with every video, it'll never work. You can never game the algorithm. There's certain things that you just cannot. It's like lottery. You can't guarantee you're going to win the lottery. So I had one video that went viral that stepped me up about 10,000 followers, I think. That was cool, but that was no different to one of my other videos. So that was just luck. So it's about just being consistent, but also staying in your lane. If I was to do a video on how to hook up a trailer to my car, because I've found a new way to do that, people would log into the GP Llama channel and think, what is this about? So you can guarantee that the branding and the consistency of my content, if you're going to log in and see a new video from me, it's going to be on cycling related, or how I produce my content. For example, I did a video on the RTX voice filter, but I added context around that to be, okay, here's the loudest smart trade. It is so loud, I can't hear myself talk on this, but you can still hear my voice through this audio filter. So relating the content. So staying in your lane, not diving too far out of that, unless you've got to progress out of your lane, I guess. If I was to get into running, I would have to, I couldn't just start giving out running tips if I've never run before in my life. But if I got, say, the new running watch over here with a picture of my son, how do you put a picture of your son on? Like, that's kind of cool tech. Not quite in my lane though. So people grow their audiences in different ways. It's a slow burn. But if you love what you do, it doesn't matter whether you've got 10 subscribers, 100 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers. It doesn't change. The pressure you put on yourself to create content every day or every week is always the same. It doesn't get easier. It gets more fun, I guess, if there's more people viewing and more questions coming through, and opportunities like this one. Look, I'm talking here on the Restream live chat. How cool is this? I would have never thought of that.
I know. So, that's awesome.
And you've got to use those opportunities where the doors open. I was invited. So did I tell you I could talk about this all day long? I was invited to the world's biggest cycling show called Eurobike. Now in Eurobike, it's where they make the Zeppelin blimp thing. Yeah, those massive airships. It's the home of that in Friedrichshafen. Apologies for my pronunciation. My German is horrible. My Australian is pretty horrible too. I went there. There are over 1,000 exhibitors, and just walking through the halls there takes an entire day of this world's biggest bike show. I've been there every year since, and the opportunities that come up and producing content there. And I've just stumbled across one company, and I stood there and I had a chat, and now we're friends. And now I get access to pre-release product and little things like that. You can run with it. So again, even if I had 10 subscribers, and this is when I was only starting out with 5,000 subscribers, those doors were opened. And the relationships that you make, it's the interaction with people, it just, the sky's the limit. And yeah, things can turn in any direction. And if you just keep running with it, and again, even if I had no viewers, I'd still be doing what I'm doing because that's what I'm into. If you've got something like that.
So important. Yeah, that is so important to just you have to be into what you do. Otherwise, chasing viewers, chasing subscribers, chasing sponsors, it's probably not going to ever get you there. You just have
it becomes the job. And jobs. Exactly. If we can do a job that, or have a what would you call it? If you're employed in a place where you wouldn't call it a job that you love, you
never work a day in your life. Exactly. You see, great minds. To wrap this up, I have a personal question for you. In your bio on YouTube, you mentioned that you are a bone breaker. How traumatic was your cycling career? Let's talk about everything that's broken, that is not tech, that is biological in shape.
Yeah, look, I've got to clarify, bone breaker of myself, not others. Some people might see that as a bit of an enforcer. You're a bone breaker? No, that's me. Look, it was only 6 months after breaking my hip and my collarbone, which I've done 4 collarbone breaks, twice each side, just to balance things up. Wow. Look, I took a call from a government agency who were the Road Trauma Registry, and they were checking in on my recovery here in Australia, my well-being and my mental health after my road trauma accident. It was only after that conversation I thought, really? Road trauma? I wasn't involved in any. And then it dawned on me, getting a call from the Road Trauma Registry, I was actually involved in what would be considered, major road trauma. That was a broken hip in a bike race. Just accidents happen. Bike racing can be very dangerous. With others, that is. If you go out and ride by yourself, it's pretty safe. But yeah, this was a race, and it was an aggressive race, and I broke my hip. I got put on the ground, and that is what it is. So it's really hard to sort of articulate this, but my bone breaks and my crashes and my hip and my recovery and all that weren't seen for me as traumatic experience. For me, that was just simply a block of training that was a little different that would get me to my next race. Recovery just became a process. Every break that I had was at peak fitness. So whenever I went into hospital and was hooked up, I'm very familiar with hospitals now after cycling for many years. Cycle racing, sorry. It's not just cycling in general. It's the cycle racing can be dangerous. You'll hook up a heart rate monitor and they'll say, look, your heart rate's at 38. That's setting off alarms. The alarms start at about 55 or 60. But my resting heart rate was so good, so my recovery was really good. It was about 8 weeks after my hip break. I think I put out a personal best at Phillip Island Grand Prix track. Speaking of Grand Prix racing, we used a time trial around there on our bikes, and I put out a personal best because I'd done specific training during that block. It wasn't me learning to walk again or learning I could actually ride before I could walk again, which was handy. I did some specific training. So for me, I saw those as training blocks. Looking back now, after I've sort of retired, I guess, from racing, I guess that was, I was lucky that I had, my mental state was beyond the injuries that I had. I've got the scars to prove it. My bones and joints crack now when I'm picking up my young son. I don't have any tattoos. I've got enough scars for those. But yeah, it's been quite an experience, but one that I guess has taught me that the medical profession is just second to none. Though the people who work in that field, and especially during this time with the COVID crisis in the worldwide, people who are there to provide care for people are at the next level. We have business, we have our sport, we have we try and make money during our general day, but these people are there providing actual care for people. And I still remember somebody coming up and putting a warm rug over my legs and saying, "Are you warm enough? Let me know if I can get you anything." Rarely do we have that in our general life. Someone will make you a coffee, someone will give you lunch, next someone will deliver your mail. Everyone's polite. But when someone cares for your well-being like that, I have nothing but respect for the medical teams that I've always dealt with, which have been many. So yeah, kudos to anybody watching who's in the medical field, from even being on reception, being through to the IT systems in the background that looks after people's health, anything like that. Nothing but respect for those guys for the positive experience I've had with all my operations and things.
That is so inspiring. That's awesome. So you mentioned your wife is also cycling. Do you guys train together? Do you guys race together? Do you guys race against each other? How does that go?
How many stories? I've got millions of stories to tell. Yes, my wife was racing.
Before we wrap up, so we're going to conclude with your relationship with your wife and cycling.
I'll try and be quick. My wife, her father was a professional cyclist and raced what's called the Herald Sun Tour here in Victoria for many years. Giacomo Micic, and he's did very well and raced a number of races that my wife had also participated in later years, because they now had female categories. So my wife Veronica was a competitive cyclist at a national level team. Raced all over Australia and Victoria. She used to follow me around quite a bit and then took it up because, well, she had access to all the training gear I've got behind me, all the new bikes, all the new technologies that I was being sent. So, yeah, she used that to get into cycling and start competitive cycling. And I think one of the best things and one of the most memorable moments is we were training up for the National Masters Championships, which is the age group championships for Australia. I always focus on the time trials, and Veronica thought, well, I'll target the time trial for my age group too and see if I can become the best in Australia for the time trials. So Veronica followed all my training, and we're out on course. We live near the course. We're out on course, testing the course, analysing the course, again, using technology to try and enhance our own performance, in which we did. We look at the wind, the helmets, the skin suits, the socks, the shoes, everything, every little detail. And Veronica was watching myself and a good friend of mine, Stephen Lane, do the same for our competitions. And we helped her out. And I was warming up for my race on race day, big competition day, and the women were off first. Veronica came home and she won her gold medal. So she was the champion of Australia. Wow. She got to wear the little, she won. And I was in tears warming up for my event, but it just took the load off me. So I was so proud. I was just absolutely in tears that she'd won this national champ, gold medal, Australian stripes and everything for her age group, and put in the best time with all that hard work that she's done. And then I got out there and I had no stress for my race at all. And I could just ride mine with a different mindset. So proud of her. And in doing that, that took away all the nerves and all the negative thoughts and everything. So I got to use that as my own positive energy. And I went and won that too, which is one of the photos I have up here, which I used to train, because I'm not training for competition anymore or training to beat someone else. I'm training to be as fast as I was. I don't think I'll ever get there. But yeah, she's an inspiration, absolutely. So yeah, 2 setups here with bikes. She was riding with little Maxwell probably 2 weeks before he was born. So Von was on the bike, riding, racing. And when we put Max down at night, about 7 p.m, we can both get on and ride this little virtual world together in the middle of winter when it's raining outside. So yep, using technology to ride together and stuff. Yep, it's a nice, happy little household.
That is such a beautiful story. That's such a beautiful ending. I'm so excited for you guys. I can't even imagine a happier story and a happier life than, two people cycling together, shine or rain, because technology, and they can all stream it live, connect with their community. And yeah, that's so beautiful. Well, Shane, thank you so much for talking with me today. It was such a pleasure to have you on air. I am going to hide you in just a second and do my little closing, but I so appreciate you coming. If you want to stick around for just a couple of minutes so we can chat after we go offline, please do.
No
and thank you so much for your time.
Look, thank you so much for having me. And I've got to say thanks to Restream as well for giving me the opportunity to stream in multiple locations. So this is what this is all about, remember. Restream, I'm not doing an ad here. This is my honest take on things. I was streaming only to YouTube. That's where my audience is. But with a click of a button, it streams up to Sydney because you guys have a local server here, which is super fast for me to get to. And I can stream to Twitch and Facebook at the same time and everywhere else. So I can get a wider reach using Restream. So that's why I like what you guys do. So again, thanks to you guys for offering that service. Makes it easy too. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right. Let me hide you here for a second. All right. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for showing up. I know this is very unusual time for us to go live because Shane happened to be in Australia. So if we did our typical 11 or 12 p.m., it would be middle of the night for him. He woke up at 7 o'clock for us today. So thank you, of course, to him for joining this conversation and for your great questions, for your great comments. It was really fun to talk about live streaming and leveraging live streaming for fitness and professional athletes. We have more shows for you coming up. Next Friday, it's going to be about live streaming comedy. We're going to introduce some comedians. So get ready to enjoy and have some fun. And for now, it's happy hour time for sure. So I'm not going to stand between you and your beers or mimosas or whatever happy hour drink of your preference. I wish you a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I'll see you next Friday. Cheers.